Today, going to be working on replacing this Black& Decker WorkMate 200. I got it from inheritance, and yeah, this has seen better days. The plan for this is to replace, this WorkMate works pretty well. It does function, it goes up and down. I can't do that while holding the camera. But the plan is to replace this MDF clamp thing, wood. I don't know. It's not wood, but this MDF, I'm assuming it's MDF, because this has seen the greater outdoors for a moment, but in better days, this is probably a good 30, if not more, years old. I remember my dad when he had this when I was a kid, maybe about 3 or 4. So yeah, this is a good 30-year-old workbench. And like I said, it has releases. I can't release it up and down right now because I'm holding the camera. But these orange handles here, they turn, and as you can see there, that opens up and close back when you do it. Same thing for the other side. And the way it works is you put your wood in here in the middle, and then you clamp it, and then you can do whatever you want to. Originally, there were some kind of stops, and those stops went in these holes. And so if you had a different piece of wood or something else that you need to work on, you reposition those stops and you put them in there, and then do what you do. And then you can release it. That way you didn't have to put it in between the two pieces of wood. So what I'm going to do is going to take this off. As you see, the bolts in here are rather rusty. That one is not, which is odd, but the rest of these are. So the plan is to take this off, and I have some 2x12 stair treads that I'm going to replace this with, because from here to here is roughly 5 inches, and 2x12s are in actuality 11 inches wide. And the dimension, I think this is 1.5 inches high. I will see. Got to tape measure. All right. So for measurement's sake, the both of them together are 10 inches. So I'm gonna use a 2x12, which is 11 inches, but it's not that big of a difference. And as far as height goes, we're just over an inch. 1.5 inches, I don't think would really hurt, because that's the thickness of a 2x12 is 1.5 inches by 11 inches. So I don't think it'll be too big of a deal. It'll be a little bit thicker, but I think it will help get the job done in this regard. All right, so first things first, I'm going to take this off of here by removing these bolts. I have a impact driver and a deep socket. I don't know if that deep socket will fit, but we will try. All the wood planks have been removed, and the bolts, very, very rusty indeed. So what I'm going to do, probably go put some penetrating oil, aka WD-40, on these to try to get some of that rust off of there. And then this is what it looks like underneath. You have these plastic spacers, 1 and 2, and 1 on each side. And they just go through. There's no nut or nothing on the back side. It actually just screws directly into the metal frame there. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and put my 2x12 on here, measure line across, and then cut on said line, and then secure those for that cut 2x12 to the frame here. I'm not sure if I'm going to do like how this is done with the recessed below the head. I may go ahead and do that as well. I also have some other bolts. I'm just thinking about using those instead of reusing these, but I'm not sure if they are of the correct length. What I've done now, I have my 2x12 out, and yeah, it's got a little dirt on here, but nothing a little sanding can't fix. I've marked my line. So the original wood, if I go back and get that. So the original wood, if you line it up to the end, comes to right about there. So my 2x12 is longer than it needs to be, so going to make a cut that way. Then I also have marked out where the existing holes, so this hole and that hole, go. And so that's 1, 2, and 3, 4, and then the 2 holes under here. And then there'll be another cut that goes across horizontally here. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and attach the board on half of it and then cut down the middle. And given that we have these spacers underneath, I should be able to make a cut without damaging the middle portion of the workbench, which is right there, and should be able to go from there. All right, let's get to cutting. I cut the side off over here, and I went ahead and attached the screws in through to the slider. And I also had to cut off the edge here because what I didn't realize is I centered the whole piece of wood on the top here, and this overhang by about that much was blocking the screws or the dials or whatever you call these from moving back and forth. And so I ended up having to trim just that much off to be able to clear these. So next, now that I have everything attached, also I had to recess the holes in. I used this is a 1/2 inch hole, I believe. And this one I think is a 5/8. And so I had to notch out the bigger hole. That way it got below the surface, and the bolts that I had were long enough. Also had to use longer bolts than what originally came with, because since I was using a thicker piece of wood, need a longer bolt to span the distance from here all the way down past this spacer and then into the that piece right there. And then there's another stationary piece that this screws into somewhere right along in there. And so had to use a longer bolt for that purpose. Now, just to make this cut, and that'll be it. Just finished the cut through the middle with the saw. And now if I turn, as you see, it's opening out on that side and opening out on that side. And if you're wondering why this level is clamped to the board, I use that as a straight edge to cut the board. And that's it. The top has been replaced. Ouch. Had a splinter there. We'll probably throw some polyurethane on here to kind of give it a little bit better life and resistance to whatever elements I may use it for or put it in contact with in the future. But that is it for this project. And so if you have any questions or comments, drop those down below. And thank you for watching.